Hey guys, Barry from Copper vs Glass here, and today what we're going to be doing is covering part 2 of the Plex project. In part 1, which I'll link to in the description below, we found out what Plex is and how you can set it up at its most basic level, and that is to set up the Plex media server. And we added some information to it and we let it do its thing. Now what we're going to be doing in part 2 is going a little bit deeper into the server application and finding out the tweaks that you can do to it to make your media look the way you want it to, and to make sure that it gets all the information correct for your media. And by that I mean titles, metadata and so on. So let's have a look now at the Plex media server app and how we can fine tune it to make it just the way you want it. So let's get started.
So guys, the first thing we're going to be looking at is the media server app for Plex. Now, as with my previous video, you'll know that once you've installed the Plex media server, it will appear on your top status bar like this. And we want to make sure that Open at Login is checked. If you don't see this option checked, the best way to do it would be to open your system preferences on your Mac. Then go to the Users and Groups section. With your user account selected, go to Login Items. Here you'll find a list of applications that are set to start up when the computer turns on. Make sure that the Plex server application is in this list and make sure it is not ticked. If it is ticked, it means the application will start, but it will be hidden from view, and we don't want this. Once that's done, we'll close that window. Let's go back up to the menu up here and we're going to click on Media Manager. This will open up a Chrome window and it will take us to our Plex media server. The first thing you're going to do in the Plex media server is just to make sure that everything is in order, and by that I mean that everything in your library is titled and identified correctly. Plex will do this based on what we set in the previous setup, which is the agent. Now the agent is essentially the source of information that Plex is going to use to get all of its information. If you find that most of your library is wrong with content that isn't actually there and it's titled incorrectly, we may need to change the main agent that Plex uses to identify your content. To do this, we can go to the settings on the right and we're going to click on Server. We then click on Agents on the left, and here we can start to choose our preferred agents. For movies, we can go to Freebase, and we're going to make sure that Freebase is up to the top of this list, and we're going to go to the movie database, and we're also going to make sure that this is at the top of this list as well. This action has now been saved and we don't need to click save anywhere else. Let's go back to the home. If we go through our channels, for example I go to movies, here you can see all your movies that Plex Media has in its server. If we scroll down the list, we may find that we have an item that's wrong in our list. For example, I have this item here. This is a film called The Day the Earth Stood Still. Now this is telling me that it's the 2008 release that came out with Keanu Reeves. I happen to know that this isn't the movie that I have. The one that I have is the old version which came out in about the 1950s. So how do we go about correcting this? Well, what we could do is we could click on the pencil on the left hand side here and we could edit all of the metadata ourselves. However, this is a very laborious and lengthy process and there's a lot easier way of doing it. So we'll click cancel. If you click on the three dots down the side, we can click on Fix Incorrect Match. What this is going to do is do a very quick search based on the agents that we set for the movie that it thinks it is. As you can see, it's only brought up one result, which is the 2008 release, and it has 100 next to it. This 100 indicates that it is 100% match and it definitely thinks that this is the film I have. Unfortunately, this is still incorrect. What we're going to do is we're going to go into search options. I can see here that it has the title which is correct. It's searching the agent of Freebase, it's doing the English language, and it's searching for a year of 2008. Let's see what happens if we remove this year from the search criteria, and we click Search. As you can see, once the search is complete, I now have two results: The Day the Earth Stood Still in 2008, which it's currently matched with, and The Day the Earth Stood Still 1951. I know that this is the one I want, so I'm going to click on it. When I click on it, you can see down the bottom it's downloading the metadata for The Day the Earth Stood Still to my server. Once this download has completed, the information on this movie will change and will be now presented with the metadata for the correct movie. Now it has finished processing, you can see that the artwork has changed. Not just the artwork, the background image, and some of the information down here such as directors, casts, and the blog about the movie itself. And of course, the year. If we are back in our movies library here and you find that you have to do this quite a few times with movies because it has mismatched them, you may want to rescan your movie database with a completely new agent. There's a very good way of doing this. First of all, we have to pop back to the home section, and then we're going to click on the pencil next to our certain library selection, in this case movies. You'll notice there's a delete library option down the bottom to start again, but in this case we're just going to click on advanced and agents. We're going to change the agent to the movie database, and we're going to click save changes. What this is going to do is, using our existing media, it's going to search the movie database instead of the freebase agent. What this is going to do is possibly fix any incorrect matches that we have in our library in bulk, instead of us going through it individually. In a worst case scenario, you may find you still have lots of incorrect matches, which in this case you may need to delete this source and start again. If we go into a particular movie, let's just have a look at some of the more options that we have. Of course, we have the pencil already, which we've looked at, which allows you to edit metadata manually. You have refresh, you have mark as watched, you have sync, which is a Plex Pass subscription feature which allows you to download this title offline to watch when you don't have an internet connection. We then have, in the more details, analyze, fix incorrect match, which we've looked at already, unmatch, download, which is very similar to the sync feature, and info. Info will just give you a very granular detailed view of everything this movie contains, such as its movie file resolution and detail, and its audio specifications. Lastly, we're just going to check one setting. We go up to the top right hand corner and we click on server next to web. We then click on the connect tab, and we're going to make sure that we're signed into our Plex server account that we created in part 1 of this series. The reason why we do this is it allows us to connect to our Plex server outside of the home environment on a mobile device, for example. The only caveat being that the Plex server, in this case my laptop, has to be on and connected to our home network. If I choose to take my laptop outside of the house, which contains the server, I will no longer be able to access that media. This is why some people choose to buy a dedicated machine that is always connected to their Plex server and in their home environment. In this case, I have to run it off my laptop, so I have to make the choice whether I want to leave my laptop at home and get my Plex media, or take my laptop with me.
So that pretty wraps up part 2, guys, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you watched part 1 along with this. The next and final episode in the Plex project is going to be part 3, focusing on the playing of the media and the various ways in which you can do that, and I'm going to be focusing primarily on how it integrates with the Chromecast, which is really exciting and super easy. So I'll catch you guys in part 3, and this is Barry from Copper vs Glass, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.